Welcome to the Dubcast with Dubside. This is a special guest edition of the Dubcast. And in this one, the interviewing will be done by me, Dubside. The big topic here is harpoons. And here we are. So this is the 18th of August in 2022.
22,
yeah.
Yeah.
And we are at the Michigan training camp. I am talking to Sipke, who is a longtime kayak enthusiast in the Midwest. Yeah, and you live in Minnesota, right?
Correct. Yeah, around Brainerd area. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And as I remember, I guess I probably saw you first at the Minnesota gathering, maybe it was here. I can't remember.
How about Delmarva?
It could have been Delmarva. You were the harpoon dude from way back. You were.
I started probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Getting into the harpoons and the minutiae, or whatever you want to call it, associated with the hunting.
Yeah.
And finally, after reading many books,
okay,
and talking to many people, and competing in Greenland once, and talked to the hunters over there, and how to really throw instead of reading the book, because the book doesn't, it shows you somebody holding it and doesn't show you follow through or how far back.
So many of the books, it's like the museum view of, we see these things, we hear they were used, but we've never thrown them, we never talked to anybody who really threw them.
Well, that's right. And John Peterson talked to him. He taught me a lot.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. And once you get figuring out, oh, that's how they do this. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, I really like this in the kayak, and everybody else should be able to know why the kayak was developed. And I've talked to some people and said, well, it's just a killing machine, and they don't want to hear that, because they're out.
You mean this country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure boat,
Yeah.
and you know how to roll, and that's about it. But when you start saying you had to live in the kayak, you had to kill animals.
Yeah, that was the entire purpose of having kayaks in the first place.
And that's why they developed to the point that they did, and that they're so good at what they made in, I don't know how many thousand years it went back. Yeah.
Well, I was fascinated by when at Delmarva, seeing you do it, and then the next year finding you again. The sling at the end of the Norsok, for the extra. So it's like the end of a Norsok, you've got like a length, like a slingshot kind of thing on the back of that.
To the third peg.
A third peg on the harpoon. Yeah.
And the only reason I did that is because I read someplace that somebody said his grandpa used a sling.
Okay.
But he didn't say if there was a Norsok attached.
This is like an Inuit person's
grandfather. Yeah, it was some of the stuff I was reading.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said he'd never seen anything on a harpoon, but his grandpa talked about using a sling.
Okay.
And all I thought about is the women cannot have enough muscle to throw that far. And Renee said, well, once you put a sling on the Norsok, and she could throw as far as the men. Yeah,
well, when I saw you at Delmarva, you were making that thing sing up into this. Yeah,
a long way.
Amazing additional distance. Yeah.
I'm afraid I don't have the round anymore. I really should.
Yeah.
Because and we don't know if it's an artifact or not, but it works.
So I immediately thought to myself, well, if that you got so much more distance, why wasn't that used universally in Greenland?
And it may have been, and it may have died with a couple guys.
But then, well, I think I might have asked you about that somewhere. And you said you lose your accuracy with that. Isn't that the case?
You do at the back end. It swivels. You
can't
because
really control
in the Norsok you're latched in, and you have the groove all the way back, holding the harpoon in the right place in the pin. Whereas this over here, if you do anything with your wrist, there goes the harpoon, different direction. Goes a long distance, but you may not hit anything.
I can see, that for competition it would have been fine, but they weren't competing. They were trying to hunt seals. If your accuracy is gone, there's no point in more range. Yeah.
If you maybe had no Norsok and a strap, and that's all you were using instead of just your hand, it might have helped better than just your hand on the harpoon. I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
You got to think about what was happening back then, and they were probably testing everything.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. We had generations to do it. Yeah. Well, and I've also read that the you know, on land, so many cultures use the bow and arrow,
Yeah, yeah.
and it seems logical that it doesn't really work well in a kayak because you need two hands to shoot a bow.
Yeah, and if
And
you're off,
you want to have one hand on the paddle. In
it
a
would
kayak.
sure be nice. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think
the
there's any.
harpoon's a one-handed weapon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably why the bow and arrow didn't work. It would have been more accurate, but that would have been tough to use.
Yeah.
First, it would have to be either flat,
Yeah, like a crossbow.
like a crossbow,
Yeah.
or in the water, and that you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the seal would hear something.
Yeah. It'd be too noisy. Yeah.
I bet it was tried because it
Oh,
came.
yeah.
It came from the
Yeah, they would have known
Indian
about those.
culture
Yeah.
coming up north to the
Yeah.
Inuits. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they ever use it on caribou?
A bow? I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. All right. So in Greenland, they make the harpoon target, and some years in Greenland, I'll go there, and just the way they work in Greenland, they may have brought the one from the year before, but it might have been in one of the steel containers and all shoved in there and all tangled up, and they'll just say, we'll just make another one.
And it was always little pieces of wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd use PEX. I don't know if they have PEX there. They must.
What's PEX?
It's a tube
Oh, okay.
that you put in for water lines in a house.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's fairly durable
Yeah.
and doesn't break and shatter,
Right.
and the sun doesn't beat it up.
All
But
right.
yeah, I took all the measurements over in Greenland, so we
Yeah.
had exactly the right, 2 meters
It's
across.
a 2 meter circle, and then
Yep,
you make
yep.
inner circles of.
There are 3 rings
Okay.
that you can hit, and the center.
Yeah. Okay.
The center's 11 centimeters across for the hole.
Okay.
Yeah, and then equal distance to
Right.
the outside with the rings.
Okay. Yeah.
And between each ring, there's a scoring for it. Like
Yeah.
the center's 100, 50, 40, 30, 10, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever we do for that day.
Have I ever told you my experiences with that? They used to have earlier ones. The scoring they had a different scoring designation.
Yep,
You know what this? The middle was 0. The next ring was what, 25. Then it went 50, 75, and 100.
And all the way out to the other side. So
But
The low one
it
wins.
got all this. So they would call out null, the Danish word for 0.
oh, yeah, yeah.
If somebody ever hit the center. But then I think at some point somebody decided that doesn't make sense to have 0 in the middle, so they changed it the other way. And then you're trying to compare scores year to year, and you realize it's a different system. And so if the outer ring is 100 points, but you miss the outer ring, you think, well, they didn't get anything. But if they get 0, that's like a bullseye.
Yeah,
So
right.
the outside ring needs to be how much is that? Well, that was going to be 300. It just gets so confusing.
well,
And
we never
with our-
tried
with
that system.
With our American sensibilities, like we have to have a standard, and they're like, no, we'll
No,
just
you don't have to.
make it up
Yeah.
year to year, and if it changes, it changes.
And we could
that's-
change it too if we want to. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not a hard and fast rule.
Yeah,
Yeah, we kind of like it that the highest score wins.
yeah. To us, that
Most
makes
of the
sense.
stuff we're used to. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, we have that floating with a line with buoys on the line, and
Yeah.
the buoys mark how close you can be.
Yeah.
Men is what is it, 10 meters?
10 meters, yeah, 10 meters.
And
away.
women is 5 meters.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
kids
which is
can
like
really-
you're almost on top of it for the
Yeah,
women.
yeah.
But you still have to throw it up so it comes down vertical to the center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I've seen them get pretty casual about that. As long as
Yeah.
the point hits, it can be. You
Yeah.
never get a seal that way with things like less than 45 degrees to the water. But
No.
No.
But if you're going to hit the center, you almost
Oh,
have
yeah.
to go vertical.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the center is some kind of a plastic float
Yeah, that little
that
big
we
dome
found
looking
on
thing.
the islands.
Oh,
that we
yeah.
were going
Yeah,
to
it's a
bring
fishing
back,
float,
and then we
yeah.
came back and saw that, well, that's what they use for
Yeah.
their center. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have an original center.
Yeah.
The rest of it's PEX.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can remember borrowing a harpoon there for the competition. But it's the same with kayaks. You think, well, if I can borrow something, okay, I'll get that, and I can practice with it throughout the time and get all ready. But no, 1 minute before you're going to compete, then it's yours to borrow. Other than
Yeah.
that, it's gone somewhere else, and somebody
Yeah.
else is using it.
Not only that, but they're using shorter ones now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We're using like a late 1800s length.
Okay.
And now they're using a lot shorter because you can shoot it with a 22 and get your seal,
Okay.
but it still may sink, so you still have to have a harpoon spear
Keep
it.
it from sinking, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
to keep it from sinking. So who cares how long it is? You just get close and you get it. Yeah. Where I don't think
John Peterson does a lot of this. With
he still
22
does.
and then harpoon it to
Yeah,
keep from sinking.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
right.
All right.
And so you don't need as much accuracy because you're getting closer to the seal. It's not going to leave if it's dead.
Okay. Yeah.
Not going to get away.
Wow.
So we're working with late 1800s. I think we have 83 or 82 inches is our
Okay.
length that
All
we
right.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other than that, it's the same. They also have a bigger head now. Because it's shorter, they need to have a bigger head to
Head on the harpoon.
so on the harpoon.
More,
so
more
that
weight up front.
more weight up front, so
Okay.
it'll also do a little bit of an arc.
Wow.
Yeah. If it was flat, it'd just like line
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if it works, but I noticed they all have, about this type of head on it, maybe 2 inches across.
Yeah. Okay.
And then just tapers like normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the kind we throw now if we go over there.
Yeah. Okay.
And we don't practice with that here.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. We're used to a nice gentle arc.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Wow.
I had a little more time. I think I threw it like 5 times,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And still, if you watch them throw for distance, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable how far they can actually throw since they've
Yeah.
grown up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're lucky to do the 10 meters.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some amazing throws, and I've seen other competitors who look like Americans, not really practiced.
Yeah,
but
let's
just-
try it again
But
today.
yeah, some of the top guys are very
Yeah,
impressive.
now they must continue at it, or did they do that when they were children?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
because they don't do that much anymore. As
Well, some of the top level competitors, they start like Maligak, 12 years old in their
Yeah,
early teens
yeah.
or something, or some even younger than that. So they've been had.
okay, so they've been
Plenty of time
prompted
to-
by the
Yeah.
other generations,
Yeah.
which is good. We need to keep that up and how to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because a good throw, accurate throw, is difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult,
Yeah.
especially if you're thinking about wind,
Oh,
waves,
Yeah. Yeah.
harpoon.
Like real marksmanship shooting. They're accounting for the wind and
Oh, yeah, yeah,
that's,
and the turn of the earth, and yeah,
Coriolis effect.
yeah. Right. When you throw that far, yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine back in the day, you have guys if they would just knock out bullseyes every other throw, kind of. And that
Well,
would be-
you've seen them hit center.
I've seen one dead bullseye once there.
Oh, I've
that I
seen
got
it
on
once when
tape.
I was there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that
for
was
you.
the time, because
No, I have one from some years before that on
Okay.
video because I was doing for the judging doing the
Oh, yeah.
verification video. And
Yeah.
I got a perfect shot. Lays right in the middle. It's amazing.
yes,
Yeah.
especially when you've been out and tried it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how hard
And
it is.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
lucky sometimes people just to hit the outer ring.
Yeah. Well, they had when I was there. It was kind of like a new crew of judges coming
Okay.
in. They're all the time. There's a changeover. So some people who aren't as familiar with some of the little details, and you sort of improvise and figure out what works. And so you got the rings there, and the harpoon will come in between 2 of the rings and go all the way underwater, and then it'll come back up between a different set of rings, and they're paddling up on it, as moving as they throw. So when it comes up, they see where it came up. And you say, no, it went into the ring outside. They go, no, I see. So I said, well, we need to take video of this. So we were doing that with a camera. You shoot the guy in his kayak comes, so you know who it is.
Yeah.
And when he starts throwing, you zoom over to
and see where it hits.
the target, just in there, and you can see it. And then you can
Verification.
rewind back so you can show him exactly what happened.
We've also changed from that and made it only 5 foot deep.
Oh yeah,
The harpoon will stick in the dirt.
for your competitions
Yes.
in Minnesota. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And if it's deeper, sometimes it'll go through and hit the bottom.
Yeah.
And now you got to try to get it out of the bottom,
Well,
and
yeah,
you can't
I've
see it.
been there,
And we've
done
had
that.
some
Yeah,
problems
yeah,
with
yeah.
that. So now, less than 5 feet,
All right. Yeah. So
and so it sticks.
Yeah. All right.
No argument.
That's cool. Yeah. That's,
Different ways to do it.
Yeah. Well, I did my electric scoreboards. I think when you were there, I'd stopped taking
Yep.
them. But I had while you're rolling or while you're on the ropes, we have a little control thing, and you can see the score adding up each time.
Yeah.
It, and maybe that's more high tech than the Greenlanders would want to do normally. But they seem to be cool
They
with
still
that.
use that?
No, I stopped bringing it after a while. And
Is it a little too complicated?
Typical Greenland, they go on fine without it. They, you know, somebody might say, "Oh, what about those things Dubs have?" And it just doesn't. it wasn't quite a turnkey operation. It took too much delicate. You know, you have to be careful of this and don't mess this up, and you need to program this. And I couldn't just turn it over to them and say, "Here, take this."
Oh yeah.
So even though when I first started bringing it, Malignagh said they'll buy it from me. I wouldn't sell it because it would just fall apart for the next year.
And yeah, they probably wouldn't get it going again.
Yeah.
How many judges do they use, like, for each of the competitions?
There's a whole staff. Like you need people with a stopwatch at the starting line.
Oh yeah.
And then they need like for the portage race. They're watching the portage because you have to, when you get back in the water, you have to put the spray skirt on before you start paddling. You know, you can't just start paddling. That would be such a advantage. Just jump in the kayak and start moving. You've got to get the spray skirt on the rim before you start moving out.
The way it really happened 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You better be in.
And then the route for the portage, you can't take a shortcut or get off of that. So there's people watching that stuff.
Oh, okay.
They have some people staff to go out there and do that. Or do regular races, you know, to go around the far buoy. You got to put somebody out there with a boat to make sure they're all going around.
All go around, yeah.
So it can take, you know, 5, 6 people.
For the rolling, what, 3?
Well, sometimes it's standard is, you know, you have an actual judge and a secretary writing down the scoreboard.
Oh yeah.
And then sometimes you'll have a third person just down by the water putting on the north sock or handing the brick or the ping pong ball. Or not the north sock, the avatok.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes, you know, it's Greenland, so things are flexible.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like Malignagh will by himself will do all the judging with the score sheet. So he's writing as well as looking and judging. And then if there's nobody around, he'll run down and hand him the brick or put on the, if there's nobody there, or you start with 2 people and somebody goes to lunch, right? And
you keep going?
Yeah, you just make do.
And the harpooning was only, 1 probably? I think Malignagh was doing ours for international.
It might have been, yeah. But usually they'll have 2 people there, or when they've done it with a camera to spot it, you have like maybe 3 people on the platform.
That way,
it varies, you know. It's Greenland, you know. You just make it work, whatever you got. If there's only 1 person there, then you do it 1 person.
Yep.
You know.
So, that's about harpooning.
Yeah.
Good.
So tell me how you first started kayaking, how you got into the whole sport.
Okay, I was living in Sioux City, talked to a guy who was coming down the Missouri River, paddling. And right away I said, I want to do that. Moved north again.
Okay.
Learned kayak in a year.
Yeah.
Learned my kayak that I bought. Next
So
year
you learned kayak in a year. Explain that. Did you take courses or just
I had
practice?
courses, and then every Tuesday night I had a different kayak just to test.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like ACA courses or?
Well, Jeffrey Kidder was doing this. He was
the local
renting.
instructor guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then I bought, and then the next year I learned that kayak.
Okay.
And more stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't learn rolling. I wish I had.
All right.
Next year I said I'm going down the Missouri. So down the Missouri and then 2400.
So this is in Minnesota?
This is 05 starting in Montana.
Okay.
And going to St. Louis.
Really?
Yeah. So 2,400 miles.
Yeah.
I learned how to kayak.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you survive that, I'm sure you would know how to kayak.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
And then after that, about 2 years later, Renee got into Greenland style.
Okay.
A year later, I started, and then all of a sudden, I'm going, why are we learning this kind of kayak?
So that first big long trip start, it was all with the Euro paddle?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I broke 2 paddles on the way. And,
really?
And 2 rudders.
Yeah.
You learn a lot. And then Renee went with that and with the Greenland stick, and I finally, I didn't like it at first.
Yeah.
Went into it, and then I go, okay, I need to learn more, and harpooning was right there. Yeah, and that started that whole thing.
Yeah.
Read.
What Kayak USA event did you go to first?
I'm thinking the traditional paddlers gathering when it was in Akeley.
When it was where?
In Akeley, Minnesota. I went there. That was the first one ever.
All right. Yeah. All right.
And then we started going to more than I started to learn, what it was all about.
All right.
Yeah. And then, of course, I started reading and got all the books.
Yeah.
Kayaks of Greenland.
Yeah.
Zimmerly. All of the books. I had to read everything. Then I started making skin-on frames.
Okay.
And then the harpooning came. There's a reason for these. And I just, it took me over. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And that's why we're building harpoons now. I think we've got 16.
So this weekend here, you're doing a harpoon building workshop.
Yeah, we have.
I don't know if that's been done before at Kayak USA.
Yes, we've had 2 of them before, And Delmarva we had one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you were at that one.
I've been to every Delmarva since
Yeah,
2001, so I
yeah,
must have been
we
there.
were off center.
I
Yeah,
must have been out in the water rolling.
I think we had 8 there. And
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you brought them to the dining hall, and everybody showed their harpoon. Yeah. Okay.
And then we had another 8 at the training camp. Not a training. That's where here, at the gathering.
Okay.
Yeah, and now we have 8 here, so we've got 16 out there,
All right. Wow.
and 8 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try to get them all in a day. It's
right.
barely enough time to get them in a day. And
So what do you, the stock for that? You use like the closet
inch and a
dowel
quarter
rods?
closet
Inch
rods,
and a quarter closet rod. Okay.
and they come basically 8 foot.
Okay.
Cut them down, but we're trying to be really careful on grain, and so they don't look like propellers,
Oh, okay.
because they just don't fly right.
All right. So in the books, are there research you've done on harpoons, like size
Yeah.
and proportion, all that? Like which source did you think was the best? Gave you the most.
Well,
information?
Harvey Golden's
Okay.
has enough drawings of like a middle 1800s when I started with that one.
Okay.
And that was my most accurate one. And it was also, I think, exactly like that. Now, we're just using the closet rods round,
Okay.
whereas what he had at the end of the harpoon, just before the foreshaft,
Yeah.
it was
It got wider than a closet. dowel.
and flatter on 2 sides
Oh yeah.
and slightly round.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with how the foreshaft fit on and
Okay.
kept straight.
Yeah.
And the lines then could be a little bit apart on the harpoon itself.
Okay.
So that would steady your foreshaft better.
Ah.
I think that was all about, and we
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that because we're just making everything solid,
Yeah.
because these are made for sand,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they can use it in the water. But if
Yeah.
they want to use the original thing, we have all of the diagrams in Peterson's book.
Okay.
He shows how to tie the knots and the
yeah.
lines.
Okay.
It's a difficult.
So like the thong leather that you tie the foreshaft to the.
Yeah,
the
because you've
main
got
part.
2 holes in the foreshaft,
Yeah.
and you've got 3 holes down here on the harpoon.
Yeah.
So and it's if somebody describes it to you, you never do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
because he had the numbers 1, 2, 3,
Okay. You're threading it all. the
and
way
you
through
could do it, and
Yeah.
and that's the way I learned it. I couldn't figure it on the pictures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that Peterson book did it on that. And then there was a, what was the priest's name from the late 1700s? Otto Fabricius. He wrote this in the early 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got his book reprinted, and he has all the drawings of everything they used turn of the century.
Wow.
Yeah, with all of the rigs for all the harpoon, carrying the seals,
Yeah.
blowing them up. Yeah, all of the lines and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
Right.
described in detail how to hunt each of the mammals
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Different.
and the
animals.
whales.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
mammals, seals,
Yeah.
and even ptarmigan and that,
Really?
how they hunted, and it has descriptions all the way through. Yeah.
That's a gold mine there.
It is,
Yeah.
and it didn't cost me that much, but it was,
All right.
yeah, it was a
The
reprint in
guy-
the 60s.
The guy I talked to, the old seal hunter dude, explained when I got the translation back that it was the, I feel there's one type of seal, that particular seal had a tendency to leap up backwards if you harpoon it, like sort of it would come up, leap back in the direction of the harpoon. So it would land on your kayak if you were that close. So you had to sort of hit that one from the side, is what he
Oh,
said.
really?
Yeah.
I hadn't read that one.
Yeah. That's,
Oh,
yeah, those little
I know.
details.
I think it was the bearded seal that they liked the best
Yeah.
because the skin was so
Skin,
good.
yeah.
They could even make line out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
In
right.
fact, their line was made
Yeah.
out of
Yes,
that.
Yeah.
And I never figured how they do it until somebody said, well, you take a little thing that cuts around the seal,
Okay,
and
you
you
spiral it.
you spiral
Wow,
it, and
yeah,
keep
okay.
cutting and keep cutting. What, a 200-pound seal? How much line is on that?
Oh yeah, wow.
It's got to be quite a bit.
I asked Milligag one time. I'd read that originally the ropes for the rope exercise was done on harpoon lines when they had strung up. But I guess it would be like the big, like whale lines, you know, the very strong lines that you could
Yeah, 'cause
swing
you-
on and stuff.
Bigger floats.
So I said, have they ever done ropes using real like sealskin, bearded seal kind of rope line to, you know, to make it as authentic as possible?
Yeah.
Because now we're using what, you know, nylon or polyester nowadays rope. And he said it's way too tough on your hands. It'll just rip your skin off.
Well, I bet it
That
would.
stuff, yeah.
Well, and then you have to process it so much.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of work.
To get it so it's kind of flexible.
Yeah.
But any lines you use always tangles. I have a really hard time to lay down a flat line
Oh yeah.
because
Okay.
some of the weave always wants to twist.
Oh yeah.
And when it comes off, then it twists the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how they do it nowadays, but maybe if you're close enough, you don't have that much line. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the
just-
competition, nobody that I've seen has ever put the line.
the line on.
The line rack because it's got the little peg the rest of the harpoon on. But nobody ever ties a line to the harpoon because it's just way too
so much-
complicated.
yeah.
Complicated and messy. Yeah. Have you ever been to the Danish National Museum in Copenhagen?
No, haven't been.
They've got an amazing collection of. I
Oh,
they
I
might
bet they do.
rotate the display a little, but they've got a whole room full of kayaks up to the ceiling, and then they've got the hunting tools. I've got pictures that I took back then of like a tuilik with this intricate design on the seams, with the light and dark skin, just beautiful stuff.
Oh.
And they've got harpoons and north.
Oh, I would
north
love to
side.
see.
Oh yeah. You should
Yeah.
check it out when
We
you
don't
next
see
time
too
you're in
many
Copenhagen.
real ones here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you'd be asking them to pull the glass away and to take out your,
And then
your
go, who the
yardstick
hell?
and your.
Yeah, who is this?
But yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Because some of that stuff is just so interesting.
yeah, and they've got from different regions. The East Greenland stuff and West Greenland
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. And then you'd also know that that's real. It's not what they found someplace in a cave that
Yeah.
the guy might have thrown away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we're making those.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It
yeah,
keeps us going, keeps us looking for old stuff.
yeah.
And now we're getting
it-
people involved in it. I like it.
I've heard that they also fished from kayaks.
Oh yeah,
But
hand
you
line.
don't see much. So what do you know about that?
All I know it was hand line, and they just did it off the side of the kayak.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically I don't think they have anything. I didn't see anything that they would wrap it on, but I'm sure they had something. Yeah,
Okay.
stick or antlers, or that'd
Yeah.
be my guess.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but it was always hand line off the side, because if you
Okay.
had a pole out here and it started
pull you
yeah,
in,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't
Alright,
think
alright.
you'd have to
But
fish
if
next to the
it
boat.
was, I mean, depending on the fish, I guess I don't know that much about fishing, but like the purpose of a pole is, besides getting the line out there, that for casting out is one thing. But when you're playing a fish, bringing it in, trying not to break your line, the pole gives you some give and take.
Flexibility.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So if you had a strong enough line and a hungry enough fish, you could just pull it with your hand. And
Well, Maligiak went out and got that. What was it, like 4-pound
cod, was it?
cod
Yeah,
hand line?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And he just did it beside the boat.
yeah.
Yeah. He said he didn't get it untangled and it bit.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yes.
he was. They were
So
jumping
that was
everything.
hand line right
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
side, and yeah.
So he told me once that for stuff like flounder, the bottom fish, the big ones, he said when they would fish those, they would use like the walrus pull maneuver, because the fish would just be pulling the whole kayak, and you had to do that whole
Oh yeah, or halibut.
that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, halibut.
Yeah,
as well.
massive.
So when he said that, I thought, oh, this because we can hunt. We can fish in this country legally. We can't mess with this.
We can do
marine
hand line,
mammals, but
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So if this is a practical use for the walrus pull maneuver, hey, we should get something going here. But I haven't seen anybody take that idea any further.
Gee, I never thought of that. I don't know if I'm going to go to Alaska and hand line a halibut.
Yeah, that could be fatal, I suppose. But
Well, I'm not going to put as many hooks as Maligiak had on his line.
yeah, okay.
I think just one,
Yeah,
because if I'm starting to pull it in,
yeah, yeah,
that could be deadly.
yeah.
4-pound fish, yeah, you could do it with, but
Yeah.
yeah. We couldn't believe that. He went out for a little while.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he came back.
He says, I'm
Quite-
going to go
yeah,
catch
yeah.
some fish. He didn't say fishing.
Yeah,
He said, I'm going to go catch.
yeah,
He did.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But then he knew the exact spot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that channel in the fjord where all the current came through, I imagine. So
They were-
everything swimming is coming through there.
And,
so.
and they're sitting there. Remember, it was just covered with them
Yeah,
as we came across
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. So one of them was going to bite.
yeah, yeah.
No, that one, that really impressed me. when he came back. Fishermen don't do that. They go out and fish.
Yeah.
He goes out and catches.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Good fish, too.
Yeah, I remember that. That was good fish.
Yeah.
On the fire right there. In the water, yeah.
Any other questions?
I think that'll give me plenty to work with.
We're babbling on.
Yeah, that's well, I appreciate your knowledge.
I hope there's enough there.
Yeah.
But if people are really serious about it, then there's an awful lot of books, not specifically on harpoons, but that will have references to it and hunting references.
Okay.
The Masik,
Yeah.
when it came out a couple of times, had hunting stories.
Oh yeah.
And I have all the old ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're available, but they had some really good hunting stories in there like those.
Yeah.
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 Because they also in there told you how to hunt the seals,
Yeah.
which are the best ones, where to hit them, where to hit the narwhals exactly right. And you
Yeah.
go, I mean, that's a piece of blubber. Don't you just hit it anywhere? No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. When you really start learning about all these little details you hadn't thought of
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
it's amazing to have preserved that stuff and having got the
Yeah.
information from the guys who
It
did
happened to how many people?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
handed down generations.
Yeah. So any plans to go to Greenland again?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to,
Yeah.
just to paddle. I don't know if I do
Yeah.
yeah. I would like to, but it was rather difficult with somebody else's harpoon.
Yeah.
If I could have one that I could break down
Yeah.
into two pieces and they'd allow me to take it like in a golf bag,
Yeah.
yeah, even though they look in there sometimes and if you don't have an actual putter in there, they don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be fun. I would still like to do it
Yeah.
and play in, there was a lot, the paddling was just unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to when COVID clears up enough that we can get some Greenlanders back in this country again for some of these
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Good. We've done it.
Yes. Okay, that is Sipke DeBoar, interviewed at the Michigan training camp in August of 2022. Thank you for listening to the Dubcast with Dubside.